Yeah, it's good to be here in Pacific Beach. Beautiful day. Looks like I brought the good weather with me. So now we can prove that I actually know Matt Finch. We're not just pen pals online, but I actually used to come out here every 6 weeks before the pandemic to get some earthing, get my feet in the sand, get some ocean, some salt, some sun, some cold water. Matt and I just took a dunk in the morning ocean. It says it was 61 degrees. I don't believe it. Water felt more like 59 to me. And then we went and did some shots at the bar. And before you get all bent out of shape, I'll tell you what shots. It was an immune booster, some kind of peppery thing. There's no alcohol, obviously, and then a green one. I forget what it was, but we had to go to the bar and get it. We wanted to get them to go, but we had to go order them there, and we just cheers them and sucked them down. And I have to say, I feel better after all of that than I ever did after drinking toxic kidney, liver, brain poison.
Yeah, I remember Sunday mornings used to be wake up, be hungover from partying at the bars till 2 or 4 or 5 a.m. or later, waking up to drink more alcohol to prevent a hangover and keep it going. And nowadays, we came up here first thing in the morning routine. I drove up 20 minutes to meet Chris. We went and body surfed, caught some fun waves. They were actually pretty big, and it was freezing cold, but it felt great. Once you get used to it, it's gonna do that a bunch.
Oh, good.
And the shots were delicious, and I had a Baja chicken sandwich that was fantastic. So yeah, we're feeling real good. That's the way to start the day. Here, if you ever come to visit San Diego, or if you live in San Diego and you haven't gone and jumped in the ocean this time of year, it's the best antidepressant on the planet.
Yeah, I actually feel like I'm so relaxed right now that I'm having trouble getting the acetylcholine or some neurotransmitter that I usually have in the podcast. I'm just super chilled out right now. And, there's such a good vibe here. I know that we've discussed the difficulty of living in a place where it's rainy or dark too often. I've had some clients in northern Canada before who have basically said to me, Chris, there's nothing to do except go to a bar. I have trouble believing that that's the case a lot of the time. I mean, there's got to be some snowshoeing or some sauna somewhere. There's always got to be something. But if that's the case, I'm a big fan of geographical relocation for people. I think it's unfortunate that the big book tends to denigrate that, which is, not to say that it's sufficient to cure addiction. I mean, nothing on its own is. But I think there's something to be said for living in the sun, getting the elements in your face and on your skin, connecting with the earth, being in a place with good vibes. And there's a reason that people who live in coastal places tend to be so chill. And that's not to put down the mountains. I also love the mountains. I think I've said before that one of my goals for the next year is to get back out skiing. I grew up skiing. It's one of my favorite things. I haven't done it since I quit drinking. So that will be huge for me. There's something about mountain air, getting in those, whether it's the Rocky Mountains or the Eastern Mountains, just going out, being with nature, getting away from all the crowds. And that's kind of why I'm here. I mean, we're in crowds, kind of, but they've had studies showing that people who live near the coast, near water especially, that you can swim in, tend to be mentally healthier. And I can't complain. I'm from Savannah. But there's something about being here, even in the midst of the pandemic. And I'm so bad about remembering to take my mask off after I've been in a place. I found myself walking on the beach with a mask on. I was like, what am I doing? But yeah, you gotta have some excitement, have some oneness with nature. There are also a lot of hippie, yogi, healer type people here, and I just talk to them. I've talked to several of them, and a lot of them seem to have. It's like they've all gone through some sort of trauma. They had a lifestyle shift. Even if it wasn't addiction that was the trauma, it's like something happened, like a horrible relationship where they lost a loved one, and now they do yoga out by the beach. And I'm not saying that that's the solution for everyone, but I do think there's something to the idea that when people have a major transformation or a major loss that sparks a transformation, they tend to get, the ones who do well tend to get more in tune with their holistic health, even if they go a little bit down the woo-woo ladder, if that makes sense.
It does. When I moved to upstate New York as a chronic alcoholic, binge drinker, I wasn't physiologically dependent at this point, but I was 26 or 27, moved to upstate New York right at the end of fall when it was starting to get cold. And that geographical change, all of a sudden I just didn't care about alcohol as much anymore. And then I got on opioids and I could care less about alcohol. But before I stopped drinking there, I got a third DUI. So I had 2 DUIs in California, and then this was my third DUI in New York. And so I was like, oh man, I really got to do things differently here. And I had to do a relapse prevention class that was a few months long, and all the people in this class were alcoholics, drug addicts, and almost all of them would say that same thing. There's nothing to do in this small town. 7,000 people, central New York. There wasn't even a Starbucks. There was no AMC or Regal theaters or malls. It was a small town with one main road that takes you 3 or 4 minutes to drive through. So that was the excuse of a lot of people, was there's nothing to do around here but drink or use drugs. And I saw lots of other people there doing all sorts of rad stuff. They were going hunting, going fishing, going off-roading, going camping at the Adirondacks. There was plenty of stuff to do. And it reminds me of that quote, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And it's the things that we say are super, super important. So if you say there's nothing to do around here except for drink or except for do drugs, then that's going to be your reality. But if you all of a sudden go, there's tons of things to do around here, it's really about being curious about other things. That was my problem with alcohol and drugs, is I had a lot of interest, but most of them were like music and surfing, drugs and alcohol, that stuff. So it was only when I developed a lot of other healthy interests and became curious about learning about things other than just doing drugs, that's when things started to take off.
Right. I think optimizing your lifestyle holistically is like, it's something that can serve as a wonderful and effective distraction when you've already committed to changing your life and you have a why, you have a purpose, and you have started the process of reframing drugs or alcohol. But the proof of your statement is that, that whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. There are people who I've seen, and their homelessness is a complex problem, but who are drinking out of flasks and clearly not having a very good time, like right along the beach here. And I have a deep sympathy for that, empathy. I was never homeless, but I know what it's like to feel like you should be, and I'm maybe putting my own thoughts in their head, but feeling like you should be enjoying something that's beautiful and yet you can't for some reason because you're still trapped. I think that's, so we do have to say that you can be in an awesome place and yet still trapped in your own head, especially if you're trapped inside of your own addiction and you haven't located a why or even maybe a how, the first step of like, all right, so what's the first step here? How do I do this? Am I gonna taper? Am I going to go cold turkey? Am I going to try to seek some sort of program to give me benzodiazepines? There's almost always a solution for anyone who wants to find it. But if you're trapped inside of your head, then you're the only one who can help yourself with those first steps.
For anybody that was watching on YouTube, we just moved inside because some people came up next to us that were on vacation and drinking and loud. It's kind of funny that we're doing a elevation recovery podcast out there, and then there's people that sit right next to us and start getting drunk at like 11:30 in the morning.
Such is life. Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk about that we actually did already talk about, but we had to edit it out because of the noise outside, was I've been getting more into hypnosis lately. Not in-person hypnosis, but guided hypnosis with noise-canceling headphones on. So right before bed, I put on my headphones and I put on this guided hypnosis that I purchased from Marissa Peer. She teaches something that she invented called Rapid Transformational Therapy, I believe, RTT. And she's world-renowned. She has traveled all over the world helping some of the most famous people with hypnosis, and you can get audio hypnosis from her for like $47 to $97. And there's all sorts of things for mental health, for wealth, for relationships. She's got a bunch of different guided hypnosis. Is that the plural for hypnosis?
Hypnosis?
Hypnoses?
I don't know.
Hypnosises?
Yeah.
Guided hypnosis audios. That's probably the way to put it. But during this hypnosis last night, I started to get all sorts of cool thoughts on how we could serve people with addiction problems better. And one of the thoughts was, I know something called the 9-breath method, which is a very powerful breathing exercise where it has a few different phases to it, and it takes a while to learn. It's kind of difficult to learn through video. I learned at a seminar with 300 people, and it took us probably all about an hour. But one of the intuitions I got was that I need to start teaching 9-breath method to people for addiction recovery, because it super oxygenates your body, and it totally invigorates your body with qi circulating everywhere, and so fast that the qi blasts through blockages and meridians, and it can take care of a lot of health problems simply through the breath. It's very advanced. Some people pass out doing it. So that was one intuition, and the other one was that I myself need to learn hypnosis through Marissa Peer or someone else to be able to help my clients, and to maybe even create my own audios that are specific for addiction and recovery, hypnotizing people, because it works really well. It sounds woo-woo, but if the hypnotist knows what they're doing, or if you're listening to a guided hypnosis that's really good, it actually works. I'm not talking about hypnosis where they can control what you're doing and make you bark like a dog or bark like a chicken. I'm talking about guided hypnosis where you go down into alpha and then hopefully even theta waves, and then all of a sudden it's reprograms your subconscious mind for success, or really for whatever you're trying to do based on that particular hypnotherapy session or audio.
Yeah, that was a pretty good chicken impersonation. You must have had some practice. So to think we moved inside because of the noise. But, so I shouldn't have brought that up. I found that I have the most creative thoughts when I am not trying to have them. So back when I was a heavy drinker, hopelessly addicted to alcohol, it seemed, I would sit down at my desk. I worked in finance, and I would be like, all right, time to grind away, have some really, really good thoughts and ideas and strategize, and I could never do it. And part of it was that I was addicted to alcohol, so my brain couldn't calm down. But now I find that it's actually kind of futile for me to sit and try to have good ideas. The good ideas come to me after I've done things like go body surfing in cold water, or when I'm back home, have a 3-hour MMA workout and a really good meal. Not too many carbs, and lots of good fast micronutrients, protein, maybe take some long deep breaths through my nose. And when I'm in that state, they just pop up, they appear. It's like the subconscious doing its work, and really creating thoughts based on the raw materials that I've given it through my consciously chosen activities. And sometimes when I lay down to go to sleep at night, I just have all sorts of good ideas. So I can't read my handwriting, as you know, so I keep Evernote on my phone. It's kind of annoying at night because I try not to sleep near my phone. At the very least, my phone is about 15 feet away from me being charged. But I will get up sometimes and write things in Evernote. I probably have thousands, maybe 10,000 bullet points on Evernote in various lists of things that I was excited about and I needed to write down, or else I was going to forget them. And I think everyone would be best to be in the habit of writing things down when they occur, because otherwise it's very easy to forget. And when you're in the most creative mindset, times of day, so morning when you wake up or night before you fall asleep, there is some sort of amnesia quality for those, that obscures the thoughts that you have then. If you don't write things down, sometimes you will forget.
I'm trying to imagine you trying to come up with ideas. Were those ideas you were coming up with finance ideas, or was it to get the fuck out of finance?
To get the fuck out.
Cool.
And it was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a writer. And that would be a very amorphous thought. And then I would have like, well, what can I write about? I could write about philosophy or politics or economics. Those were kind of my majors. But I didn't want to enter the fray, and now it's a war zone for anyone who, I don't know how anyone who is a pundit, keeps a clear mind these days. Must be tough. So I'm really glad I didn't pursue that to its, to the fullest extent. Or maybe I could start a business. I have an idea. I had all sorts of funky ideas. I mean, I was convinced at one point while I worked in finance. By convinced, I mean maybe for a day or two. I had just done a long drive somewhere, and I had an overactive bladder because I was hopelessly addicted to alcohol. And I constantly was either trying to chug water to get rid of the alcohol or chug alcohol to replenish my
Get
alcohol.
rid of the water.
Yeah, so I literally thought to myself, you know what? There should be like a suction-based catheter that you can use for long drives that wouldn't be too intrusive. It has to be, we definitely have the technology, and I'm going to make this, and we're going to have commercials and billboards for truckers that are suffering because they really have to pee. I mean, I've always had a weird creative mind with no limits as far as where things go, and that might not have been my best idea. I doubt I'll ever invent that. But
Fit
I got
recovery
excited.
was your best idea.
Fit recovery was a much better idea than the suction-based, non-intrusive catheter. But for anyone out there who thinks they can pull that off, I hope they do. But yeah, I would get excited because of things like that. Like, how can I get out of the system? And then I would get bummed because it was clear to me that, at least subconsciously, I knew if I didn't get rid of the alcohol, I wasn't going to figure anything out, and I would be increasingly trapped.
I remember drinking tons and tons of alcohol daily for a few months when I've talked about this before with you on here, where I was awaiting my felony arraignment for possession of marijuana for sales. I was facing felony charges, and I was just drinking and drinking and drinking because I was scared. And I would have great ideas too. I'd watch surf videos all day and get hammered. I'd be just scared of life and of my court date coming up and scared of everything and everyone when I woke up. Halfway through that first 40, and then I'd pop on the surf videos, and I'd just kick back, drink 40s. Friends would come over, we'd just hang out. Then all of a sudden I'd get great ideas. I'm going to quit drinking and I'm going to get back into surfing and I'm going to get in really good shape and I'm going to get really healthy and I'm going to learn how to make money besides selling marijuana and I'm going to figure this shit out. But all it was talk when I was drinking. It was absolutely no follow through. And that's what my buddies and I did for many years. We would drink and create a lot of fun memories, actually. We had a lot of fun, but then it was sad because we were getting older and we were drinking, talking about all the cool stuff that we did and and then I started to realize, I'm like, this is boring. This is so repetitive. I just started, and that was when I was starting to go transition to opioids anyways, but drinking's alcohol's the last thing on my mind ever. Look at all these cool things we have here. Dragon Herbs products and colostrum and beef liver and right before we body surfed, we took those nootropic blends and I took some NAD easy melts and we just went out and just got so much good stuff. So I think there's some people listening right now that really just don't know where to begin. There's some people that do, but there's some people that don't. And I think that you really hit on the point that helps people begin. Writing things down. Even in all these years now, almost 9 years post-addiction, the times that I've stopped journaling, the times that I've stopped writing in the morning and writing in the evening, that's when I've started to get off track. And the times that I haven't had really, I'm trying not to say the words goals now or even exercise because I know people are so sick of hearing about that shit. So now I'm saying projects. The times even post-addiction when I didn't have an exciting project to do, even if it was just a blog post or a video or something more intense and longer, I've kind of felt aimless and just more tired, less of a mood, and just kind of, I need to have really cool projects that I'm doing on a regular basis. Otherwise, so I think that's probably where, if anyone's confused on where to begin, it's all so confusing. Start writing. Make a daily practice. Get a journal or use Evernote or some other type of software. I really am a fan, for myself at least, of physically writing because I can sort of read my own handwriting. I like writing with a purple pen, which was what Dr. Wayne Dyer used to do. He's one of my favorite authors that a few years ago passed. But what do you think about that, Chris? Is somebody that's kind of confused on where to exactly begin to start just writing about their thoughts?
I think putting a pen to paper, even if you can't read your handwriting, I did put a physical pen to paper and I have trouble reading my journals from detox, especially since my hands were shaky, but I can still kind of read them. But doing that is the first step. Writing is the first step towards reconnecting yourself to reality and disconnecting yourself from the delusion-inducing energy suck, which is alcohol, and I assume opioids, even though I have not been addicted to opioids.
Misuse of any substance. Misuse of any
Yeah,
substance.
I mean, it's an energy suck. That was the irony, was that sometimes when I would get drunk enough, it would seem so easy to quit, right? So I would be really down, and it would be maybe 5 p.m. was approaching, and I would feel horrible, and I needed drink. If I don't drink, I'm going to freak out. I'm going to have a horrible night. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to do worse at work tomorrow. And I don't want to be shaking and having a sense of impending doom and having sad thoughts and feeling bummed. So I'm going to drink, and I'm just going to drink enough to get over it today, and then I'll quit tomorrow. And that was my thought. And then I would get to that point where, unbeknownst to me, my neurotransmitter levels were artificially topped off to a point where I could feel okay and stable. Not even super euphoric, but okay and stable. And I would think to myself, all right, I've got this. Because now I feel good. Maybe I've drank, maybe this time, this sense of stability will last for days, even though it never has before. Maybe I'm here, and now is the last time, and now I'm good. I can stay at this level of stability. And then always inevitably, because I didn't understand the science behind addiction, I'd crash back down and need more drink, and then I'd drink more and more and more. I'd blast through to the euphoria level, which at that point in my drinking career, anytime post-college that I got to the euphoria drinking level, I was almost certainly poisoning the hell out of my liver. And, that gut-liver-brain axis is so important. When you do something bad to your gut or your liver, those toxins are flowing up to your brain and inhibiting neurotransmitter synthesis, keeping feel-good chemicals from latching onto receptors, especially serotonin and even GABA and dopamine and endorphins. So I would then crash real bad after that. It would be like, damn it. And I couldn't even remember the creative thoughts that I kind of had when I was drinking. And it's just a weird catch-22. And the biggest delusion of all time, that you're going to go get things done because you feel great for 20 minutes of drink. And it's just not sustainable. You're not going to get things done. I remember sitting down at a desk not dissimilar to the one we're at here in a hotel room, thinking, I'm going to write my masterpiece now, and it's going to be my life's best accomplishment. And then I had a few more drinks. I brought like a fifth of scotch or something with me because I'm Hemingway, obviously. And,
that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
And I woke up 4 hours later having written like 4 words on the piece of paper, and I was in no shape to continue writing. And I was like, what am I doing? And you'd think that by that time, that wasn't the first time something like that had happened. You'd think I would have figured it out. But to anyone who's stuck in a cycle like that, also know that I failed to quit drinking way more times than I succeeded. And I succeeded the last time I tried to quit drinking. That was all that was necessary. Now, 6.5 or so, I don't even know, but well over 6 years later, we're still going strong, and I have nothing but really empathy and sympathy for the people who I can identify clearly on the street now who are struggling with addiction, or in bars or in restaurants. And I feel like all of the good vibes and creativity and things that I wanted from alcohol, I get naturally. And it's not like I've stopped ingesting things to increase my sense of well-being. As Matt said, we've got liver capsules over there. We've got colostrum. I've got some wellness tabs. We've got dragon herbs, ginseng. We've got shilajit, which is a weird but awesome adaptogenic mineral paste from the Himalayas that I'm not sure I understand, and I definitely don't pronounce correctly. I've got some raw honey over there. And so, yeah, I mean, this is all of that stuff. And you brought the nootropics. I feel like I infuse my body with the things that actually get me the results that I wanted from alcohol, from a calming perspective, from a creativity perspective, from a mood stabilization perspective. The alcohol was never doing what it was supposed to do. And it's an adjustment. It takes discipline to get to that point. You have to rewire your brain. It sucks at first, even if you take supplements. I mean, sometimes people say, I took the supplements and I quit without effort and I feel amazing. That does happen to lucky people.
It's rare, though.
Rare, and not usually people who drank as much as I did. There's almost always a period of, it's almost like you have to prove what you're worth to yourself. And if you get past that hump, you realize it's so worth it. And then the scary thing then becomes like, what if I didn't pull through there? I would never know. And for some people, it takes days, others weeks, others months. Usually not too many months if you're doing biochemical repair. It shouldn't be that hard. I feel like anyone who has a reason to live should be able to, who also does nutrient repair and practices optimization of the basics like sleep, getting outside, things we talk about all the time, nasal breathing, that you should be able to quit your addiction without overwhelming discomfort. The detox isn't fun, but really within a few days to a few weeks at most, you should have a sense of normalcy returning, and then the natural highs and euphoria really substituting for where the alcohol or the drugs used to be.
Yeah, when you get a morning natural high like we just did, it really stays with you the whole day. I find myself so relaxed right now, and it's actually making me, I feel, think better, rather than a tea-induced, caffeine from English breakfast induced. I had tea hours ago. That stuff long wore off. So, but I feel really relaxed, and it all comes from the sunshine and the ocean. We're going to sleep good tonight. Well, I am. I don't know about your ass.
I slept great last night.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And I'd been deprived of sun, and I just hadn't had time.
Yeah, you're getting a tan coming on.
Finally getting the tan back. I've been taking astaxanthin to avoid getting burned. I haven't put suntan lotion on at all.
Yeah, you're tan. There's no redness.
There's no redness. It's amazing. And it's just good to know what those biohacks are. And I feel incredible. And part of it is also, diet, making sure you're eating the right things. I've slipped a little bit on that front since I've been here, but I've been pretty in need of a break, given the MMA workouts, getting slammed on mats and doing like 600 million jabs. And I have a little bit of tendonitis in my left elbow, which it'll probably be gone by the end of this week. And really, I found that the best thing for minor aches and pains is to walk barefoot in the sand or on the earth. But ideally in the sand, get those negative ions from the ocean as well. And it just has a healing effect. I'm going to go back feeling rejuvenated. And it was funny because I had my two best friends from college join me for about 30 hours when I first got here before we linked up. And they were guys who I used to drink with a lot in college, but they're good, level-headed people. Neither of them drink very much anymore. One of them has a family, he has a second kid on the way. And they're like brothers to me. And one of them was saying, he had told one of his coworkers that, and he still works in finance, told a coworker, I'm going to San Diego to see my two best college friends. And the guy said, man, you're going to be banged up when you get back. And he was like, no, actually, I think I'm going to feel a lot better. We didn't go out drinking at all. And banged up as in like, you're going to go out and drink, you're going to go to the bars, you're going to have no sleep. I think they might have had one cocktail. I can't even remember. Maybe during dinner. And the funny thing was I ordered, and I said, at my usual move, I said, make me a non-alcoholic cocktail and make it damn good. And they brought out this amazing grapefruit sage thing. I don't know, but it had salt on the rim.
Wow.
And it was really good. The salt and the grapefruit was like better even than salt and lime somehow, just the way they did it and whatever the herbs they had in there. And so my friends got jealous. They had some like Gimlet, I don't know what the hell, martini thing. And they drank that. I don't know if they finished it. And then they said, we want what he's having actually. So we just ended up with that. And we went for a walk on the beach, did some cold plunges. I gave them a bunch of optimization compounds, and they're feeling great. We all slept like 8.5 hours, had a big breakfast, and so much better than shaking in the morning at a diner because you went to a bar that was super crowded that you waited an hour to get in line for. I don't think you can do that anymore because of the pandemic, but you're not missing out. It's like, why did I choose to pay $200 to cut a line so I could be packed like sardines with a bunch of strangers in a place with loud music where you can't even hear anyone, and then just drink like cheap things out of plastic cups? I used to do that in New York a lot. And it's like, why? I should have just come here and
you were in your 20s, man. You were in your 20s. That's what people do in their 20s for the most part. Anybody that's still doing that crap in their 30s, or especially in their 40s, going to the bars and getting hammered, it kind of looks, well, if they just do it every once in a while, it doesn't look bad. But people that do that regularly, like all the time.
So the funny thing is, my two friends, will do that every once in a while, and then they always text me in the morning like, "Drinking sucks. I need to reread the book."
Yeah, it's not worth the pain that it causes to your liver and the next day. That's what happens when people don't have options, and a lot of people now are just, well, when it comes to opioids, that one can be sometimes a lot more severe, just stopping. So there's a lot of people aren't even getting the euphoria from opioids. Like, what I remember about alcohol is I could get drunk every single day, no problem, on a very little amount of money. With opioids, with people that have especially naturally high innate tolerances, such as I, soon as, like a few months into opioids, I wasn't even getting euphoric at all. Before, they'd give me euphoria, antidepressant, anti-anxiety, tons of energy, really just felt great, just hypomanic to the extreme, opioid-induced hypomania big time. But then after several months of that, maybe even 3-4 months, I could no longer afford to keep increasing my dosage. So I had to just use just enough to stay well, and that's how most of the people were there, the other pill addicts that I knew and that I bought from. But so with people on opioids, they stop working really quick, usually within a few months to maybe max a few years. Then they're just using it just to not. They don't feel any different. They could use. There's people on fentanyl, taking tons of fentanyl daily, and all it's doing is preventing them from getting sick.
Yeah. That's what I was like with alcohol, actually.
You didn't even feel anything?
Not even by the end.
Oh my gosh.
In fact, by the end, I was unable. The reason I quit was because it stopped working to prevent the withdrawal. I went into a withdrawal syndrome while drinking.
That only happened to me once.
It's horrible. You feel totally helpless, even more helpless.
Did you go into delirium tremens too?
No.
Or did you luck out?
Well, it was bad. I had hallucinations. I was seeing shadowy figures jump around in my bathroom, and an overarching sense of impending doom.
Yeah.
Like there was some kind of demonic UFO hovering above me at all times. Yeah, it wasn't fun.
That only happened to me in all the years that I drank. It only happened once, and I was 24. I just turned 24, and it was a long bender of months and months in a row without eating hardly any food, maybe 500 calories a day. I was really skinny, really malnourished, and looked disgusting. And one day I just couldn't drink anymore. Every time I took a sip, I'd puke it right back up.
Oh, yeah.
So it only happened once after that huge bender. And yeah, that's the whole night was like a waking nightmare, dream state. I could actually, my puppy at the time, I had a dog, he wasn't really there, but I could see him, hear him, and feel him. And I was petting him, I could feel him. Then a band came in the bedroom really fast. There was all these musicians going real quick, and setting up. Then they started playing this live concert. And then there was all this demonic stuff. It was one of the scariest nights.
Believe it or not, just for you.
Believe it or not, that's not even close to the worst night of my life. Not even close. That was a walk in the park compared to some nights. But so after that, I learned about delirium tremens and what causes it. Learned that I could have died. So the next time that happened, I was looking for Valiums when I was trying to quit a bender. One time, years later, coming off a bender, I knew I was going to probably go through DT if I couldn't get Xanax or Ativan or Valium or Klonopin. Couldn't find any of that stuff. Didn't know about baclofen or gabapentin or anything like that back then. Probably couldn't have got that anyways, but I could get some methamphetamines, and I knew that would take away the alcohol withdrawal. So I took a few hits off of a meth pipe from my roommate's girlfriend, and I completely sobered up. I didn't feel like drinking any alcohol for days and days and days, and I didn't go through any withdrawal. Crystal meth prevents alcohol withdrawal. I don't recommend it. It's a Disclaimer, I don't recommend methamphetamines for any situation under no circumstances because it's a neurotoxin, and it's got the most garbage ingredients like battery acid. Just look at the ingredients. Google meth ingredients, and you'll never take it. Again, if you're on it, you'll just...
Why do you think that? Do you think it just boosted dopamine through the roof such that you didn't have a withdrawal? I mean, it would seem to me in order to prevent alcohol withdrawal, it would have to do something with GABA. I'm sure meth has, like most street drugs, a really complicated cascade of effects.
Yeah, part of it was the dopamine, but it was part from some other things. It's very bizarre. Meth has a way of getting rid of any stomach ache you have. It has a way of preventing alcohol withdrawal. And it also has a way of completely numbing your emotions to where you don't feel anxious and you don't feel depressed.
You're kind of like a psychopath too.
I was never like
No?
that. Well, I didn't do it enough.
Okay.
So I never shot it. I just would, and I never did a lot. It wasn't really my thing. I just did it because it was around, and I didn't want to be on nothing. I wanted to be on something at least. Even if I hated the feeling of the thing, I'd rather be on something that I hated than not have anything in my system. That's pretty weird, but yeah. So methamphetamines was one of the stupidest, and I've heard of people using methamphetamines to help them quit opioids. It's hit or miss. Some people it works really well for. Some people it makes the withdrawal worse. But a lot of people will get addicted to meth because it's so addictive. If you use it for withdrawal of anything, I just did a couple hits that one day. That was it. But some people will use meth to come off of opioids. It happens pretty often, actually. And the other day I heard a comment from someone when I was talking about this on a video, and they said, this was like a couple weeks ago, they said their friend used meth to quit opioids, and it was a female, and then she got so addicted to it that she lost her family and her children within 2 years of getting on meth. And so that was like a way worse situation than being on opioids for her.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have NAD plus therapy than meth any day of the week. Yeah.
It's just what people can get, though. Like, that's the main thing. With people that have money or access to money or good insurance, family support, education, self-motivated, those ones are much more readily kind of equipped to be able to handle this stuff. But for low-functioning people that are broke, it's really hard for them. It's like, well, meth is all I can get. Or, well, all I can get is a handful of these illegal Xanax that might not even be Xanax. It might be fentanyl, or it might be rat poison. And when people are desperate, I've been in that situation. I've taken drugs in the past that I didn't even know what they were, and they could have killed me, but I didn't even, I would do anything pretty much to avoid withdrawal, or almost anything at that point.
Right. Yeah, if I'm ever fortunate enough to be, a philanthropist, my idea is drones dropping vitamin and amino acid, basically samples, but clinical dose stuff. I guess you might have to be a little careful in case people are on antidepressants, but really I don't hear of that many complications with natural, with vitamins and minerals and amino acids and fatty acids. And Dr. John Umhau, who has been on the podcast before, was actually worked with homeless people, found that giving them vitamin blends and even just having them switch their diet to be more heavy in fish, and giving them fish, which is obviously a source of omega-3s, depending on which fish you have, really helped reduce the relapse rates for people who are homeless. And it's sad that so many people completely skip over the things that are in their power to change because they don't realize that it would do any good. I mean, if you'd told me when I was in the latter stages of my drinking,
Take some fish oil.
Yeah, take some fish oil and amino acids, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. Like, this is I'm seeing demons. What the hell is fish oil going to do for me? But I didn't understand the complex mechanisms going on in my body at the time.
I love fish oil. Guess what I'm having for dinner tonight?
Fish.
Ashley's cooking wild-caught Alaskan sockeye salmon
Very nice.
in these little bamboo, I don't even know what they are, but there's these little bamboo papers that she wraps them in. She makes the best salmon I've ever had. And then grilled asparagus with extra virgin cold-pressed olive oil and spring water.
Sounds pretty
So
ideal.
that's going to be good for my brain. And I'll probably take some Kiani Sunset fish oil after. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow night.
Good stuff.
Yeah, fish oil, B-complex, magnesium, glutamine, vitamin C, and a really good multi, like the Legion Triumph. If people just did that, even if they just took the Legion Triumph and maybe a few other little extra things with some extra fish oil, that probably doesn't have omegas in it, right? Or does it?
Which?
The Legion Triumph
No.
multi? Yeah, like a good multi, such as that one or the one for women, with an extra fish oil supplement at night, maybe some extra vitamin D, magnesium, vitamin C, something like that. It's really, to get started taking supplements, it's really easy. It's really basic.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot at the beginning.
The amino acids like L-glutamine tend to be huge for people, and really
I took that this morning.
nice. I did too. I take at least 5 grams a day, maybe more. And I didn't always do that. I've gone in phases of not taking it and then taking it. But that seems to be really helpful. I've had some clients who've taken upward of 15 or 20 grams of L-glutamine a day because they're so deficient in GABA, and also it helps to repair the gut. It helps to stabilize blood sugar, and that's just one amino acid. There's so many out there. I take branched chain amino acids while I'm like as an intro workout shake along with electrolytes.
Do you do it with some type of carb too? Some type of
No, actually, I have stevia sweetened creatine and BCAAs. I have no carbs usually until 3 or 4 p.m. My workouts are usually at around noon.
You do a
Sometimes little
3-hour MMA workout without carbs before?
Without carbs before, and usually, and sometimes without carbs until 5 hours after.
And you're 32, 33?
33. Yeah. Well, my blood sugar is just so stable now, and part of that is L-glutamine, and also just gradually getting rid of carbs in the early part of the day. So I actually find, like, I like Ezekiel bread. I like cream of buckwheat is another interesting one I've gotten into. Anything that's lower, and I avoid American heavy GMO, heavy gluten and gliadin wheat. I avoid that like the plague. I don't want Roundup in my gut. So I'll have pasta imported from Italy. I'll have cream of buckwheat. I'll have buckwheat pancakes. I'll have almond flour pancakes, although it's recently come to my attention that almond flour can go rancid pretty quickly after you buy it.
I stopped almond flour.
You can't taste it. And because I was getting an upset stomach sometimes. I never do after almond flour pancakes.
I do coconut flour pancakes now.
Yeah, that absorbs a lot of water, but it's good stuff. So I try to avoid wheat. I gradually went from eating like a bunch of Ezekiel in early recovery, which was a good switch for me. I mean, when I worked in finance, I was getting like a croissant sandwich with a fried egg and God knows American cheese and
bread and meat and
stuff.
cheese.
Yeah, I couldn't eat that now. And so then it was like, all right, one piece of Ezekiel in the morning, and then eventually I just went no carbs till lunch. And then when I'm trying to cut now, it's really easy because all I do, and by that I mean cut fat, or just get really toned or lose weight to be faster in MMA. And all I have to do is do no carbs till dinner. Or if I really want to speed up the process, I'll do no grains except no carbs except sweet potatoes ever, and sweet potatoes only at dinner. But I can eat. I mean, my cheat meal, as I've said a million times, is my Chipotle thing. I get triple or quadruple meat, and no rice or beans, double veggies, double guac, and maybe some pico in there, the mild salsa, and then of course hot sauce if I want. There's basically no carbs in there, and I'll have that after my MMA. In the morning, I'll just have like 3 to 6 eggs and some like pasture-raised bacon or sausage and an avocado. It's really heavy on the meat, but I'm burning sometimes upwards of 2,000 calories in my workouts.
Jeez.
So I can afford to have that, and I'm working with a functional medicine doctor to assess my risk for cardiac events and my cholesterol, and she has a very, very forward way of looking at things. She's not like, oh my God, your LDL is high, so therefore we're putting you on meds. It's like, all right, your LDL is a little high because well, I don't want to go into that right now, but there's some controversy about cholesterol, total triglycerides, and LDL, HDL, and I'm in a good spot.
Yesterday, for my first dinner out of 2, I had like six egg yolks that I cooked it up. It was 6 over easy medium. It was not over easy, not over medium, over easy medium, somewhere around there. And I didn't feel like eating the whites. I just was craving the yolks. And I was laughing because a lot of people be like, do you know how bad that is for you? That's just too much cholesterol. That stuff's some of the best food on earth is egg yolks. I can just guzzle those things up all day.
Yeah.
They're so healthy.
It's really unfortunate. I think there are probably people out there, everyone's different biochemically, and I'm sure some people don't do well with meat because it raises levels of, IGF-1 or other.
Can be inflammatory.
Can be a little inflammatory for some people, but not for everyone necessarily. People have. I know someone who basically cured his ulcerative colitis with a combination of the carnivore diet and quitting his job, getting rid of the stress. Now he's way happier, and he started reintroducing other things. But there's something going on there, and everyone's different. And I always say, there are people whose ancestors evolved without meat for thousands of years, right? Like in India, there are people who haven't had, their ancestors haven't had meat. Evolution could occur a little quicker than we think, because of epigenetics.
Sure.
So it might not be great for those people to be meat and potatoes people. They maybe should be. But most of my heritage is apparently Scotch and Irish, although I thought I was Italian because I grew up in northern New Jersey. And
Scottish or Scotch?
Scotch.
Is that, it's pronounced Scotch?
I don't know. Scotch Irish, right?
Scotch. I thought
Scottish and Irish. Yeah, I suppose.
My genetics are Scotch. No wonder you became an alcohol drinker.
Yeah, right. So that's part of it.
I am Scotch.
Yeah, I am Scotch. I was Scotch. But yeah, I mean, my ancestors were eating haggis and and tripe and blood sausage. So maybe that explains my affinity for those things. But I also I probably eat more vegetables than the average vegan. I'm just eating a lot of food, and I need a lot of calories. And I am staying away though from things that aren't pasture raised, that aren't organic, that aren't grass fed. And I'm sure we'll have even more insight as time goes on about this stuff. But I was just thinking, like my friends. One of my best friends who was here 12 hours or 24 hours ago, he has a baby who's a very impressive baby. My friend's very tall, and this baby is not even 2 yet, and he's walking around the house opening doors and playing with roughhousing with the dog. It's amazing. And this baby eats food that is better than what I eat. I mean, he has like baby food that's like organic, grass-fed, bison, sweet potato, reishi mushroom. Like, whoa,
where'd they get
this
that?
stuff. I
They
have
bought
no
it?
idea. They feed this kid has the best food I've ever heard of, and I'm thinking like, wow, innovation's very fast in the nutrition and food space. That's really interesting because we couldn't find that 10 years ago for adults. I mean, maybe 10. I don't think 15 years ago I saw any bison or even grass-fed beef in a grocery store. Maybe a local farmer's market.
I was just talking with one of my clients who lives in Maui. I won't say this person's name just in case, but she was just remarking on a few things. Number one, it's been probably 6 weeks since we had the first consultation, and she ordered a bunch of supplements. So the last time we were talking a couple of days ago, Friday morning, she was saying how awesome the websites, the supplement websites I sent her were. One of them was Dragon Herbs, one of them was New You Life, one of them was Bio Rebalance, and I think there might have been one other one as well. But she was saying how awesome those sites looked, how crazy the science looked, and she's been taking Supreme Creation for a month, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and she's been taking the Somaderm HGH gel, 2 pumps in the morning, 2 pumps at night. She's on, I believe, 4 milligrams of Suboxone, but this month of taking those, she's taking a quarter teaspoon. No, she was taking a quarter teaspoon of Bio. Now she's taking a half teaspoon. But she's saying, like, I feel these things. Mm-hmm. I really am feeling it. And she sounded like she felt better and she was more energized. And we had like a 90-minute call. It was great. And just knowing that she took like almost 180 capsules of the Supreme Creation so far, that's what gets, like, yes, we need to make a living and everything. My favorite thing is getting people to helping them to quit, but also introducing them to just the most amazing health products, different types of foods, different nutraceuticals. And I think a year or two from now, it's going to be maybe exponential. Maybe 2 years from now, the amount of nutraceuticals and foods, high quality foods, are going to be times 10 of what they are now. So even though we're getting more and more unhealthy, well, most people are. I'm not getting more and more unhealthy. But even though America as a whole, more mental health issues, more addiction, more physical and mental diseases, just more health issues in general, because of all the, just faster pace of life, more technology, more addictions. Luckily, all the nutraceuticals and even hypnoses, and there's some weird words we've been talking about, but for all the stuff that sucks, we're working on it. There's tons of entrepreneurs, tons of people that are really smart, and tons of people coming out with great new stuff. So it's exciting. And when people get sad or get depressed in the moment, I tell them or they want to have nostalgia for the past, I say have nostalgia for the future. Start projecting, like imagining this like I'm imagining 2 years from now, things are going to be great. This pandemic's going to be long over. There won't be anyone wearing masks in 2 years. If so, that would be very bizarre. But I don't see that. I see things just from this point on, maybe a year or two from now, really taking off. I think 5 years from now, it'll almost be unrecognizable to today.
Yeah, people are still wearing masks in 2 years. I'm moving to a desert island somewhere.
I'm going to Norway,
and and only doing optimization, and maybe some people can join us there. But no, I agree. I think there's a diverse and vast array of solutions that are being innovated every day for all of the problems that unfortunately are being compounded by things like the pandemic and the lockdowns, and we'll see what happens. But it's never too late for anyone to jump ship from the addiction train and into the recovery and optimization train.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.